I'm going to be stepping you through how to actually make a common assessment on Synergy. Now that you know the reason why Synergy is so great, we're going to start showing you how to build some of those items so that you can get all of that great data that Synergy has to offer. I did put some links right here at the front. The Synergy Sandbox training site. So if you're just wanting to kind of try to experiment with some things, maybe pull some items together later to make an assessment, or do a couple of questions to pull some data, there's a Sandbox training site that is super useful. I've used it a lot. That can kind of help you just play around and not feel like you're going to mess anything up on the real Synergy site. I've also put a link here for some item types. It's a PDF document that allows just basically what I'm going to go through here on this PowerPoint, except for just like in a page and a half instead of an entire slideshow. And then there's also some assessment training videos for the question types. So there's like a dedicated individual video for each of the different question types to help you figure out what buttons to click and some of that advanced scoring and some of the standards pieces that might get a little difficult. So I've put those links, and I'm going to have them again at the end for you to click on. And then, of course, my email address if you need to reach out with any questions. So let's get started. So step one is all about the banks, which these are already created for you. If you are creating this, the person that is in charge of your group should have already made these banks, but think of them kind of like a filing cabinet. I'm stealing Kevin Butter's words because he is the one that actually put this the slide deck together for my science task force, and I asked him if I could borrow this. So he explained it as a file cabinet, which I thought was a great way to put it. So all of our passages, so if you have like a reading passage that you want students to write with a whole bunch of questions tied to it, all of your different question types, all of them will fall under your grade level bank. And so if you're watching this video, we've already created these, and you can later pull from these to create your assessment. Create retakes, quick formative assessments if you like, anything you need to do. So when you get started with creating an item, you'll always want to make sure that you're on the right bank, because it's likely that you might have access to more than one bank. And if you pull it into one bank, it's kind of a process to put it into another bank. Make sure you're using the correct naming convention. So if you are creating a particular assessment, make sure you're labeling it Unit 1. If you're using your item types, one thing that one of the elementary coaches taught me was to write down the item number so it's easier to find later when you're pulling the assessment. So I'm going to show you in just a few seconds where it asks you to choose the correct bank, and so we'll talk about this again. But banks are important to have the item type in the right bank. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go over the different question types. I haven't done all of these myself, but the thing I really like about Synergy is that it has all of these really engaging question types. And so I've told my science people, task force, that we have a really great resource, right? We have a high quality instructional resource. And so take those questions if you're using those and try to enhance them. So this thing has more than just multiple choice and true and false. There's some really cool stuff. And so try to look at what is already in your high quality instructional resource, or if you already have questions written for your unit assessments. go ahead and kind of try to rethink how those might be more engaging for students, and maybe ways that you can use these question types to better assess their true understanding instead of just having them guess through the answers in multiple choice or true and false. There's some pretty interesting ways that you can engage students in these tests now. All right, so we have our basic question types. And obviously this makes up most assessments and it might make a majority of yours, but like I said in the last slide, we can definitely use these, but if you read through these question types and you know these different types, maybe when you read the question, you're able to think outside the box a little bit in ways to not have an entire test that's just multiple choice and true and false. The other pretty standard one would be our constructed response. And so this is where the students would be able to type in their response and even upload some media files if you wanted. They can build some tables, write equations, all sorts of things that you can do, and also attaching a scoring rubric to these constructed response. So add pictures in, a very nice question type. There's the evidence-based selected response. I'm just kind of moving myself all over here. And this one is pretty neat. I've always thought of the evidence-based selected response like with ELA, but I know our science department was able to use it. And so multi-part questions, and when the student gets any part wrong, the whole question is wrong. And so these are kind of linked together. And so, and I think there's an advanced scoring option where they don't have to be linked as well, but we'll get in there and we'll look at it in just a few minutes. The next one that's pretty cool is the drag and drop. And so you're able to type out some words and add in a picture, and then you can pull the responses into the right areas. And there's advanced scoring options on this too. So like I know when I was making science assessments, you might put it in the right spot, but then you can make it actually, if they put it in the wrong spot, take off a point. So there's lots of different advanced scoring options that are really nice. So students aren't just picking all of the options or, putting cerebellum on all of them to get that 1 point and not have any counted wrong. The hotspot is really cool. You can put in a picture and you're able to set the different options so that the student can actually pick the parts of the picture. And so click on Lake Superior on the map and then click submit. So then again, this advanced scoring will allow them not to just choose all of the answers and get that 1 point right. They would have to pick the right one, and you could actually take off a point for them picking more than one. Hot text is another where the students are looking for the correct response, but it's like within text. I haven't seen this one done yet, but I could see how, different passages you might want them to highlight a portion of it or pick the correct highlighted portion, especially in ELA. And again, just try to be creative and think outside the box to figure out what else you can do with those multiple choice questions that you might already have. The next one is inline choice. So kind of like matching, a little bit like multiple choice, but they have the option to pick from a drop down. This one, I've actually built one of these. Surprisingly super easy to add images and to add text. It builds the table for you as you go, and again has the advanced scoring options so that they can't just pick all the pieces and they get it right. You can just say, there's 1 or 2 per row, and take off points for them clicking unnecessary boxes. There's multi-part questions. So this, you can add in a passage with a picture and have like a really nice passage set up, and then multiple questions that go with that passage that show on the same screen all together, which is really nice. And you can actually put a passage on any question above the directions as well, but this one allows them to all be viewed on the same page. This is the drag and drop text, so it's similar to that, the one where they were doing the labeling, except for this one can be on a text passage, and they're a little bit different on how you build it. So these are 3 different pictures that they've put in instead of just one big picture that you're drawing on top of, or the kids are labeling on top of. So this one has multiple pictures, and it gives you a table that then they can drag these pieces into the second row. Text entry, again, has this advanced scoring options, so you can give certain pieces more points. These little yellow sticky note looking things are the ways that it shows the points, and so those are, this one is worth 5, this one's worth 2, and so gives you an opportunity to have them drag and drop text into a passage and have it be worth different points. Okay, so now that we know a little bit about each of the question types, the steps for creating assessment, you first have to create that passage. So anything that might have multiple questions, like the one with the cat that kind of looked like the lion, one of those. Then you would want to create just your normal questions. And inside of that, you're going to want to make sure that you pick the subject, the grade, the unit. There's a depth of knowledge that you can pick, and then the standard and the report. If you want to do any multi-part questions, you can merge those from the bank at that time, and then from there we can create an assessment. But today we're not going into the creating assessment, we're only going to be creating questions. All right, and then kind of the why behind the reason we've picked Synergy as our assessment system. Obviously, there's tons of different programs out there that we could assess students on, even, between PLCs, as long as it was common. Why are we picking Synergy? Well, Synergy is our student information system. It's our SIS. And so it has all the data on every student, from ethnicity, gender, IEP, EL student, every piece of data that we have on that student. After they take that test, we can desegregate the data in that way. And so not only by standard, if you want to look at your class and see how they did on the standards, easy. But if you want to see how differently they did based on gender, how your EL students did specifically, how your IEP students did specifically, you can generate all of those different reports. And so that is pretty cool. So you have the live view of data. While they're taking the assessment, you can actually see which ones are getting right and wrong, similar to like a map test. I've also used another program where you could kind of see, oh man, everybody's missing number 2 kind of as they're taking it, which was nice, just so I could make some notes beforehand instead of, doing all the grading and then making the notes about what needed to be changed about the assessment. And then the results after, this is what I was talking about. So you can pull all sorts of different types of reports, and it shows you all different views about how your students did based on the standards, based on the building, based on your PLC, the district, and so we're going to be able to really look at how our students are doing and where they really need help and how we can best serve our students. And like I said, lots of different reports here, and you can choose from any of these once you have some data in Synergy. All right, so that's just kind of the overview. So now we're going to talk about actually getting into Synergy. So since this is a video, you might want to just listen because I'm going to walk through it and then I'm going to actually do it. I'm going to pull my Synergy screen over so that you can see a bill. We're going to do an example here so that you can see how that looks. Okay, so the first thing is that all of you should have the assessment tab in Synergy. So don't look yet, but when you open up Synergy now, you should be able to see this assessment button. Now, I've added everybody in and I've double, triple checked it. And so if you do not see this tab, it might be because of your browser. So Firefox, which I think I used a couple times in college, which was a really long time ago, seems to help Synergy bring up the assessment tab. So if you go in Synergy and you do not have the assessment tab, try getting on a Foxfire browser, going back into Synergy, and I've seen it happen. The assessment tab magically appears. So Jamie Wattinger has been amazing in helping me every time I've done this training. We don't have somebody with the assessment tab and I'm freaking out, and then she'll say, just have them try Foxfire, and voila, it's there. So definitely try that. If you were added, like just a couple hours before, sometimes it takes Synergy a little while to sync and have it up there, but hopefully everybody that's watching this, you have been added a couple days ago, and so you will be all ready to go. So when you get into, mine looks a little different. So this is actually a screenshot of mine, but when you click on the assessment tab, it'll say assessment items, and that's what you want to click on. And once you click on assessment items, it'll pop up and there will be a green button in the corner that says new. And so you'll click on the new button. And when you click on new, it will bring up a screen that looks like this. And so here's where you're going to choose that question type. And so it's a drop down and it'll have all those question types that I just went over, which you guys probably by the time you're done writing this will know more about them than me. You will have your banks here. So this is that file cabinet that Kevin was referring to that we will want to click down to and double check that you're in the right bank. Even I was making banks and putting people in them, and I added a whole bunch of health people to science the other day. So it's really easy to do because the numbers are similar, so make sure you double check. You can leave the status on live, and total points is you can leave it at 1. When you go down to this advanced scoring, you might, after you start putting your question type in, you can always go back up and change that. So when you guys get in, you're going to try a question type, you're going to choose the desired bank, leave the status as live, and then you can change those points at any time. All right. So then you're going to add in the actual question type, which I'm going to go over, but basically there's the screen, and in fact, I think you can see it here. Here it says the prompt. If you want a passage, you can click on passage, or if you want directions, you can click on instructions, and it gives you area to type or to put in a picture. And then this is where the actual question will go, and then you can click for a multiple choice, how many options you want as the answer. You can add a rationale to the answer if you want, or even a rationale to the wrong answers. So when your students pick the wrong answer, they can see why it was incorrect, or adversely why it was correct. And then at the bottom, after you're done putting in your question type, you're going to put in the grade level, which is super important. These are all ways that you're going to search for your items when you go to make an assessment. And so if you were to leave them all blank, you would have a hard time finding your items once you went to pull that assessment together. You're going to want to pick your subject, the course, and then depth of knowledge. And then down here, your unit. And so this is where it will pull apart in the bank the different unit items. Right now for health, right now for health, we are not going to be using standards, but if you are doing a high school assessment or you're making an assessment that already has standards, the health standards are new, and so we're not going to link our old standards and then go back in. We're going to wait. But if you have standards that aren't new, that are already put in, this is where you will click, and it's kind of like it says standard tree because it literally is a tree. You're going to pick your content, and then you pick the grade level, and then you pick the strand, and then you pick the topic, and then you pick the actual standard, and then you pick the indicator, and then it just keeps growing. So you just keep clicking boxes, and every box you click is a way that you can pull apart the data at the end. So you want to click as many of those boxes as you can. You want to say, I really want to see how they did on this topic. You can pull that information. I really want to see how they did on the standard. Pull that information. I really want to see how they did on this indicator. You can pull that information. So once the standards get in there, that's going to give us a whole nother part to pull reports from when we get done with our assessments. So after you get here to the bottom, you're going to press save, and you have an item type. It'll take you back to a screen that looks like this. It'll say assessment questions. There'll be a little search bar over here. And if you look on the other one, I'll go back one more. A number will also be here. It'll say item number 1151 or something. If you write that down because you're going to quickly go make an assessment, then you can go right into the assessment and just put the 3 numbers of the items that you just created. If you're not going to use it for a while, then that's probably not as important. You can just search for it later. All right, so it's going to take you back to the screen. Here's where you search. And so if you have that item number ID, you can just do the exact match and find it super quick. And then you'll be able to scroll through right here all the different questions you have in that entire bank. And if you have multiple classes or multiple banks, you'll actually be able to see all of those together, and you can scroll through those. You can try it right here as a student. So it'll actually load just like it loads for the student, and you can kind of see if you like how it looks, go back in and edit it, or you can leave it. And once you're happy with the question you just created, you go in, click new again, and you start to make another question. So I'm going to quickly go into these different links. So this is the training site. So it looks just like Synergy, except for when we log in, it's just it's a account that's not linked to anything. And so it's really nice to be able to kind of practice or, figure something out, or if you're not feeling confident about how your assessment's going to pull together or what you want to do with it, you can always work in here. Apparently it's taking a long time to load, which is crazy. So we will come back to that one. This one is the item PDF. And so all the different question types gives you more examples. But just, really great graphics you can pull in. Pretty engaging, but this just gives you the little description, which is what Kevin had on his slides there. I like these examples because it also gives you a whole bunch of different classes, like, music class or math class, ELA, all different grade levels as well. Oh, still loading. And then these are the videos. So each one of these, you can just click on a link. So the basic settings, you wouldn't have to probably worry about that yet. But if you want to do like Dragon or Hotspot, and you're like, man, I really want to do Hotspot, but Ani didn't do a very good job of going over it because I've never done it. So you could just quickly watch this little video here. It's a little screencast, and it would help you do this. And apparently, I will have to get you the access code from Jamie. I'm sure she has that for us. But that would be a pretty handy document if you were building and wanted to really try some engaging things. All right, so I'm going to pull over the actual, I was just going to do it in the one account, but we'll do it in this one. All right, so this is my Synergy, and so we are in the items. I don't have the assessment bar. Mine's set up just a little bit different since I'm not a teacher, but regardless, I just wanted to show you this live. So here's all about those awesome question types that we can do, and we can pick any of those. Make sure you pick your bank. So these are the different banks that I have going on right now. We'll just do 6th grade health. We're going to make this 6 points. We'll do the advanced scoring. Oh, then it sets it at 0 because it's going to let me put those little sticky note looking numbers on it that I was showing you earlier. If you want to grade it, if you're like, no, I don't want you to grade it automatically, I'd much rather comb through all of my students and make sure that they did these matching correctly, you can click that. But for matching, I'm going to say let's let the computer grade it. I'm sure it'll be fine. Here's where we can add a passage, and it opens up a spot where you can either select a pre-made passage that you already have made for a different question. I don't have any yet because I haven't created any, so I'd want to create one. You can title it, you can put it in your bank so you don't have to create it multiple times. Subject, your passage body, but I don't think mine's going to get that intrinsic tonight. So I'm going to want to type some directions. As you can see, there's this little microphone here, so you're able to record any text that you type so that you don't have to read the assessments to your students. You can just have them press the little microphone and they can hear your voice and they can have it read to them and go at their own pace. So that's super awesome. You can pick all of the different fonts and sizes, which is pretty neat as well. So we're going to go into the maximum number of points is 6. The minimum number of points is they get a 0. And then we're going to build our multiple choice. Here we go. So this is click to edit. If I wanted to do, this was type 1, type 2, and these would be, click to edit. I'll add a choice, add an item. Okay. I think there it is. Do symptoms. I can do age. You can just keep adding these in, and then you can click on this to make it worth how many points. So this is the right answer right here. This would be the wrong answer, so it could be 0 points, or if you wanted to make it -1 points so that they don't just choose all of them to find the right answer, you could do that. And then in your instructions, you would just say, only pick one per line. And so then if they went through and picked all of them, so they could get the one right, it would actually take off 3 points. But it would still, the lowest points it would give is a 0, even though it was obviously going to take off more, it would still only give 0 since that's what you put. So then this will automatically change as you change the amount of points. Down here, your total points changes. You can give them scratch paper. You can have a calculator on a math problem come up. There's all sorts of little add-ons that it'll prompt you to have depending on your question type. And then, of course, you can see what that looks like. When we save this, we can try it as a student to see if we like that scratch paper or not. And then you're going to want to pick grade level, and you're going to pick the subject. And let's see, I'm going to want to probably email Jamie quick to make sure we have a health subject, or if it's not there, we can just leave it blank. And the course, so these looks like some health classes at the high school. So if you don't see your course, you can leave that blank. Remember, these are just for us to search it later. So we're probably not going to be creating a ton of questions today. I just want you to kind of play around with the different question types. You put in your depth of knowledge. And then down here, then your unit. You got to make sure you put in your unit. And then down here is the standard piece. So you could just try to search it, but sometimes Synergy names it different ways. So I would do the standard tree. You're going to want to click Show Empty, All Standards. And then I'll just show you the science standards because that's the ones I've been using the most. So we'll want the latest one, so 2017. We'll do science, and then you'll pick the grade, 8th grade, then you'll pick the topic. So I'll say space, and that's the standard, and then you can pick an indicator if there's an indicator past that. And then all of those standards would be linked here, and then we're just going to press save. So obviously I'm not going to save this one into the health folder. So you can just press return, and that always allows you to not save anything. If you would have pressed save, it would have brought you to the same screen, but we would have had something here that we could try. So these are some of the other assessments that were created this summer. So then it allows you to try it. So then we can put a smiley face here, an X here, another X here. So drag and drop, kind of cool. And these were amplified questions that they tried to make more engaging by using the different question types. If you decide you don't like it later, we can always archive it. And then here's where you would search that I was talking about earlier. So if you did have that number, let's see if we can generate the number quick just so I can show you, and then I'll let you dive in. So I think the item number, so this is just a multiple choice. 1. Well, I have seen the number. If you can see the number, that's the one you should use. Currently, I'm not seeing it. Oh man, but I know it's on here somewhere. So maybe you can see it right now and I'm just not seeing it, but there should be a number for each item and you could just write that down and make it real quick for yourself to pull together assessment. So I hope that was helpful. I'm definitely not an expert, but I've done it a couple of times this summer. So if you guys just want to dig in, try some of those different question types, look at some of the assessments maybe that you already have made or that come from your resource and just do some playing around so that we can work on it this year to have these live for August 2021, 2022. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.